that President Obama was not deeply thinking of the consequences of the campaign he launched against Syria and his decision to attack Syria. Yesterday he was more thoughtful, but this did not change anything. Since he is determined to launch an attack or an aggression against Syria, this will not change anything. We hope that President Obama and his administration exercise all wisdom in their decisions, go back to the United Nations, because it is the only authority after the Second World War to give permission for a military action.
But he said he was comfortable proceeding without a resolution from the UN Security Council.
This means destruction of the existing international system. And of course, this is not the first time the United States violates the international system through the United Nations. It has repeatedly ignored the existence of an international system. But I think this time the issue will be different because members of the Security Council should take it more seriously.
Security
and if
Council,
the system of the United Nations is not working
but he
to
says
protect
the system
world
is
peace and security, then why, for God's sake, do we have such a structure?
So he said the Security Council is paralyzed over Syria, that's why it's fine to go around it.
So if Russia tomorrow thinks that, in X country the Security Council is paralyzed, then they have to go and attack, even if the United States would not like that. This is the double standard policies which we warned against. So there is a law, there is the Charter of the United Nations, and I think all members of the UN should respect it.
So the American Congress is going to vote. Which way do you think they'll vote?
Look, this is not an issue of speculation. The US Congress usually thinks so much of the Israeli interests. Let's see how they will think this time, whether it is in the interest of Israel to attack Syria or not. So the situation in the region is full of surprises, and new developments hopefully convince everybody that instead of escalation and aggressions, this part of the world needs peace. Syria is not any other country, as I hear from different sources.
What are the risks for the Americans, for the Syrians, and for the whole region if they do decide to go ahead and attack? More
hatred for the Americans, more weakening of international institutions. Terrorism will flourish everywhere. This will undermine the security of Americans inside and outside their country. Al-Qaeda is there. Any attack against Syria is support of Al-Qaeda and its affiliates, whether Jabhat al-Nusra or the State of Islam in Syria and Iraq. So all aspects which I may think of will definitely divide the international community, will be a direct blow against the international system, international community. And there is no, before all that, there is no whatever justification to attack Syria.
You talk about the importance of respecting the international system, but President Obama would say that Syria has flouted international law by using chemical weapons.
We did not flout anything. In fact, it is the United States which is flouting all norms.
Did you use chemical weapons?
No, absolutely not. Chemical weapons and agents were used by the armed groups who are supported by the United States, by Turkey, by Saudi Arabia, among others.
If that's true, why are the Americans so certain? They came out with an impressive body of evidence.
This body of evidence was shown before. I was there in the Security Council representing my country when we were non-permanent members of the council, when Secretary Powell came and showed us this white
This was
bottle.
2003, just before the invasion of Iraq.
Yes, but it was used to justify the invasion of Iraq. And a few months later, they found nothing in Iraq. And now they are repeating the same game.
So you're saying the evidence the Americans are coming up with now is as flimsy as the evidence about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction in 2003?
It is not a flimsy, it is non-existing. I mean, they have seen this in videos on the internet, which everybody can see, and they falsified facts. And I mean, I wonder how can President Obama or Secretary Kerry believe what is being told to them by armed groups and not to believe the government of Syria. If we have used it, we would say we have used it.
Let's assume.
But we have not used it, and we said chemical weapons will never be used in Syria against the Syrian people by the Syrian government if it has.
So, if that is the case, why are the Americans lying?
It is because they have other objectives. Long time ago, I mean, do you believe the United States is not behind all that happened in Syria for the last 2.5 years?
Well, they say they're not. They say there was an uprising.
Ambassador Ford was sitting here on this seat when he, said a lot of things about this.
The American ambassador?
When he went to Hama, when he went to other places without the permission of the government. So I think the United States is deeply involved in all the bloodshedding in Syria.
The Americans would say, and the British as well, that there was an uprising here which the regime used great force against, and since then that you have willy-nilly been spilling the blood of your people.
Jeremy, this is a big lie. What kind of uprising are you talking about? I mean, look what kind of uprising there was in Tunisia, what kind of uprising there was in Egypt, and then you are talking about Syria. I mean, if 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 go to the streets, and then 1 million people go to the streets supporting the government, then what democracy do you support?
So what next?
This is a good question. This is a question that, should be answered carefully. Of course, the entire region is on fire. I mean, not only in Syria.